Hi, welcome to the second video of this series. I'm Jennifer Deep Stratton, co-founder of FamilyCo with my husband Peter Deep Stratton. I'm so excited to talk to you today because we're actually going to get into one of the most important skill sets that's needed to have a great relationship: communication, and specifically listening. Do you think you're a great listener? Well, get ready to be an even better listener today. Now, before I get into today's video, I just want to give you some context for where we are in this video training series. So you might be in a great relationship and wondering, am I settling? What if I mess it up? Like, how do I know this is the person? How do I know we're going to continue to be happy? You might be thinking about making a commitment, maybe getting engaged or married or starting a family, and you're just not sure if this is the person and if you're ready to move forward. Now, if you're there, it makes perfect sense, and I'll tell you why in just a second. You also may be married. You may have been in a relationship, a committed relationship, for a number of years, and things are not as great as they used to be. You used to connect. You used to spend all day on Sunday in bed talking about nothing. You used to go down to the laundromat just to move the laundry from the washer to the dryer together, just to spend time with each other. And it's just not there anymore. And maybe it's the kids, maybe it's your busy life, and you miss it. And you just don't know how to reconnect and get the intimacy back. That's who this video is for. If you are really wanting to have that amazing, committed, deep, connected, soulful relationship, one where you're the highest and greatest version of yourself, where you help your partner become the highest, greatest version of yourself, of themselves, that's who this video is for. So in terms of where we are in the series, in the first video, I actually talked about one of the biggest reasons why what we do in our relationships as people to have them be good or get better really doesn't work. It doesn't matter how many books you read or how many counselors you go to. If you don't have this one thing that we talked about in the first video, nothing will make a difference. So if you haven't seen it, go back and watch that first video. The next thing that you need to have is some killer skill sets. You have got to know how to communicate. And we all know about communication and that it's important. But what does it really mean to communicate well? Most of the time where people say to me, how do I get on the same page as my partner? Or how do I know that they've really understood what I've said? Mostly what I hear is they don't understand what I've said, even though I've said it 10 different ways, and they still don't change. And we think we're good listeners. If you're a great listener and you're not getting the kind of results that you would like to, you're going to love this video, because today I'm going to talk about two of the levels of listening that Peter and I have discovered that most people use and why they don't really work for our more important communications. So fasten your seatbelt. Let's get ready to talk about listening. Also, in our upcoming training call, which is totally free, we're going to do a 90-minute training, totally free. We're actually going to teach you one of the best ways to reconnect and rekindle connection with a partner or a spouse. And if you're having trouble communicating, that something ends in a fight typically, or you're afraid to say something to your partner because you're afraid it's going to end in a fight, you can use this particular tool to communicate that we're going to teach on the training call, and it really can open up a lot of doors. So be sure you're there for that. But today what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through two of the ways that we listen as people that are rather automatic, but not very supportive of the kind of relationship you're looking for. The one where you have that deep, connected, soulful partnership where you're totally on the same page. You feel like you've got each other's backs. The first way that people typically listen in a conversation is that they're listening to fix a problem. Take, for example, last month when my mother came. We have a brand new baby. She came to see the birth of our son, and she, while we were in the hospital, I asked her to take my other children to soccer practice. And what my mom said to me is, oh my gosh, I don't know where to go. Even though she's been there many times, she hasn't gone to the soccer field from our new house, and she was really worried that she was going to get lost. And she kept saying, I know that I'll know where I'm going once I'm on the road, but I just can't visualize it. I need you to draw me a map. I just can't visualize it. I don't know how to get there. And so what did I do? I immediately jumped into getting her a map, showing her how to get there, teaching her where to turn right here, turn left there, and to make her feel better about that she would actually know how to get where she was going. And so what did I do automatically? I jumped into fix it or problem solving mode. This is not a foreign idea to you, I am sure. We all know what it's like to have somebody fix us, to be in a conversation where we're trying to solve a problem. We love solving problems. As human beings, one of our favorite things to do is to help people solve their problems. That is a way that we contribute to people. So if you have someone in your life that's, trying to fix you and driving you crazy because they're giving you advice, take it from me, what they're trying to do is really contribute because they care about you and they feel like they've got some good advice. And so take that for what it is. But the moral of the story is that when we jump into fix it or problem solving mode, we are not accessing other levels of listening. We are not able to really hear or be with the person's concern. Because as soon as I say to my mom, oh mom, it's easy, you can get there, just follow this road, she doesn't get validated in her insecurity, in her fear that she's going to get lost. Okay? And so she might need she might need a sympathetic ear. She might want that acknowledgement. And it's very hard for us as people to acknowledge people in that way and to give the sympathy, especially when it seems like something we don't understand. The next thing that we do as people, the second way that we tend to listen to people, is waiting to say what our opinion is of that same situation. A lot of us connect that way, and it sounds like this. Oh my gosh, have you seen that new restaurant? Have you been to that new restaurant down on Main Street? It is so good. Oh yeah, I was there just last week, but the service wasn't very good. Or it might sound like, oh yeah, I'm going next week and I heard that you should have eaten this instead of that because this thing is so much better on the menu than that other thing. So the first person who's saying, oh, have you been to that restaurant down on Main Street? They're excited. They want to express their excitement about their wonderful meal and share with their friend what a great time they had. And the friend pops in, jumps in right away and says, oh yeah, I've heard about that. You should have had this and not this, or I'm going next week, or I went last week and mine was better. What's happening there is that the two people, while they might get excited, a lot of times they don't actually hear each other. Like the first person wants to share their excitement and the other person doesn't really hear them because they're so excited themselves that they don't actually register how excited this person is. So this, in a social example like that where you're friendly, not a big deal. But when you're in a relationship with someone and you're trying to express a concern, it really falls apart. And so here's a great example of it falling apart that you may be able to relate to. A woman that I was speaking with, one of the clients that we work more closely with, said, I don't know how to communicate with my husband without him getting defensive. Even though I use I statements, as soon as I say the word you, he gets defensive and he starts justifying what he did. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, here's the example. We were out for a hike. It was our special time together. And on our hike, his phone rang and he answered it. When we got back to the car, I said, honey, I'm really upset that you answered your phone while we were on the hike. And she said, even though I said I'm really upset. I'm using I statements. We all know how to start our statements with an I. Yes? As soon as I got to the word you answered the phone, he said, oh, well, I had to answer the phone because it was an important call from work. And he started to defend why he did what he did. So there he is, jumping in to put his opinion onto the situation and not really hearing what her concern or worry is. And she said, I don't want to criticize him. I'm not trying to make him feel bad, but I want to address this unrest that I have. I want to be able to get it out and to resolve this with him. But his defensiveness just made me feel like I wasn't heard. When you're jumping in and putting your opinion in or your judgment of the situation in a typical conversation, I think in that conversation, looking back, he's both trying to fix the issue and also put in his own perspective. He's waiting to get his word in edgewise. Neither of them worked. And so what ends up happening is she feels not heard, not understood, not validated. The situation doesn't get resolved and he feels defensive. He feels like he's been attacked. He feels like he's not doing a very good job of making her happy, which makes him feel like a loser, or what's the point? And while she's trying to get her concern alleviated, actually ends up making the situation worse, and they get into an argument. And what happens with most couples at that point is they stop talking, and you just bury or sweep under the rug this issue, and it never ends up getting complete. It never ends up getting resolved. And over time, and this is what's happening for you if you've been together for a long time, or you're thinking about making a lifelong or longer commitment, and why you may be afraid of that is because over time, when these things are not resolved, they build up and they completely cover up, obscure, get your beautiful, shiny love all dirty and mucky and yucky until you can't see it anymore. You can't feel the love anymore. And that's, I think, what we're all really afraid of and not wanting to happen in our relationships. So the key is you have got to have a way to communicate. You've got to have the tools to resolve these issues. The first one, gotta have it, we talked about in video 1, is the ability to shift your perspective. Easier said than done, but absolutely critical. The second thing is you've got to have these communication skills. Today I've talked about 2 ways of listening. There's actually 9 different levels. And when you start to have more skill in the listening, in these listening skills, you will start to have a completely new relationship. You will go to bed feeling like the most excited kid on the block because this is somebody that you're just madly in love with 5 years in, 10 years in. That's literally how I feel about my husband when I look at him at night and when I wake up in the morning. Oh my gosh, I'm so in love with this man because there's nothing in the way. There's nothing in our space. There's nothing incomplete in our communication weighing heavy on our hearts. So that's what's in store for you. And on our upcoming training call, I'm actually going to talk about one of the quickest ways to get reconnected with a spouse or significant other. It's a very simple way to have a conversation that can start to open up and get communication flowing again. And we'll talk about that on the training call and how to do that. What I want you to do with today's video is start to look at how often are you jumping in and fixing things? How often are you just waiting to get a word in edgewise? Just notice that. And if you weren't doing that, what could you be doing instead? Just that piece of awareness of noticing when you're doing that is going to make a big difference in your relationships, just to start with. So work on that until we talk on the training call coming up. And also be sure to join us for video number 3, where we're going to talk about the third piece that Peter and I see is absolutely essential for having amazing relationships, and that is your vision. Where are you going in your relationship? So join us for video 3. Thanks again for being here. I'm Jennifer Deep Stratton with FamilyCo. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.